I don't even know where to start from all of the things that have been said that are just wrong.
Welcome to the BJ Show. Let's rock and roll. Rock and roll. Come on, everybody. Let's lose control. Brad John never wants to follow. Yeah, ready for the ride. It's the BJ Show. BJ Show.
It is the BJ Show. Today's date is Wednesday. It is hump day, as Shelley used to say, August 27th. Good morning, John Combest. How you doing today?
Good morning, Brad Hildebrand. I'm doing well. How are you?
Any better, I wouldn't be in jail. I'm telling you. That's all I can tell you. That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T. Put a .com on the end of his name, and you get johncombest.com. Why do I mention that? Because that's what this show, at least A block, is all about. John puts together this extensive list of all the important stuff you should know going on in the state of Missouri. It's like the Drudge Report, only on Missouri, but it's like the old Drudge Report, which was good, not like the new Drudge Report, which kind of sucks. But anyway, John's been doing this for over 23 years. We start the show off with this guy every single morning.
I'm Casey Kasem.
And what does he do? He counts them down, and we start off with?
In third place,
A little bit more clarity on a big story that we discussed in two different segments yesterday, and that's the explosion in North St. Louis County, right near Blackjack. Authorities have ruled out foul play or any sort of criminal activity. The headline from St. Louis Public Radio: natural gas likely caused North St. Louis County home explosion that injured 5. Of course, other outlets covered it as well. And I have links to the St. Louis Post-Dispatch and St. Louis Public Radio up on my website today. St. Louis County Police Chief Colonel Kenneth Gregory said, quote, "There is no criminal offense that happened here. I know you probably heard on social media, meth labs, things of that sort, but there was nothing like that, investigators determined." So, Brad, it would seem to suggest that the most likely cause of the explosion was indeed natural gas. Gregory said, investigators are working with Spire to confirm the cause of the explosion, though the utility previously reported that none of its infrastructure was damaged in the incident. So, Brad, it would seem as though if it's natural gas, it's going to be Spire. And as we talked about yesterday, Spire originally came out and said, hey, we've had no recent reports of any sort of leaks or anything in that area. So, and also we should note, too, that there was a gentleman who was significantly injured, and he had burns on, gosh, I want to say, Brad, 95% of his body. The gentleman is named Dante Anthony Jr. He remains hospitalized in critical condition. 2 other residents who were injured have since been released. So much destruction and so much damage up there, Brad.
John, what did I tell you yesterday? I said it was natural gas. That's what I said, remember?
You did say that. And one of my tasks that I did not fulfill before the show, Brad, I wanted to be able to point people to, so to save you from repeating it, I wanted to point to various times in the last year where you mentioned your longstanding beef, which is now with Spire, but your beef is so old that it was originally with Laclede Gas. And I wanted to point people to the dates. I don't have those at my fingertips now, Brad. But we know that you don't like Laclede because you had a billing incident with them that went to extreme measures. And anyway, Brad, so we know your feeling about natural gas. Thank you.
They took me to court, and the attorney F-bombed me in court, okay?
You claim that he's used the F-bomb on you in court.
I don't claim
totally
he did. He did. And I even said to him, I go, is that how you treat your customers? Well, we're the attorney firm.
And he wasn't before a judge. You said that you had a sidebar with him, right?
Yeah, but still, John, there's a certain thing called, it's the D word. You know what the D word is?
No, I know a few D words, Brad. I've described one often.
It's decorum, okay? There's a certain, and to the point where, maybe the older I get, the more I get to the point where it's like, you know what? It's not worth fighting over. It's like,
Yeah, and it's probably not worth carrying a grudge. What year did that alleged comment happen, Brad?
I think about 1866, or after the Civil War was over.
Yeah, so the point is they weren't even Spire then, and the gentleman who represents them probably didn't even work for Spire.
No, he was
probably a contract attorney. So for you to carry that grudge for so long is pretty silly.
Well, not a grudge, John. It's to the point where I have always felt that, and I'm not necessarily saying natural gas, propane, the same thing. And what's problematic to me, John, and don't get me going on this, is that as of the first of the year, the EPA, under the guidance of the Biden administration, switched over to new refrigerant for air conditionings. And the old system, if you go way back, we had R12, then R22, then R410A. Well, as of the first of the year, there are two refrigerants that are approved, R32 and R454B. And you know what the interesting aspect of those, John, is? Something that's never happened with a refrigerant. At
What's
least
that, Brad?
They're
What's that,
flammable.
Brad? Why is that so exciting?
They're flammable. So now you have flammable refrigerant. If you have one of the new HVAC systems was put in as of January 1st, you have flammable refrigerant. And think about this for a minute. If you have a gas furnace, you have flames right next to the evaporation coil, the evap coil, which has flammable refrigerant in it. What bad things could happen with that, John? Do you see any problems with that at all, John? Do you see anything?
What could possibly go wrong, Brad?
Right. What could possibly go wrong with that? Of course, we have, because it's all about GWP. Now, John will say, what's GWP? And I'll say, well, John, I mentioned GWP on August 2nd, 2020.
Is this some sort of an old-timey thing that people will turn the dial on? Is this some sort of an HVAC detail? I've been certified as an HVAC inspector.
No, this is Biden administration stuff. GWP stands for Global Warming Potential, and they rate everything.
Oh, wow. Okay.
They rate everything as far as, and this is not just HVAC stuff. This is just, there's all sorts of things that they use the GWP thing. I wonder if Trump's up on that. I mean, Trump needs, Will
he
Sharp.
Probably is. Bert Inman just texted me and said it's 7:08. Can we move on?
It's Bart Inman. I wonder if
whatever his name is.
I wonder if Will Scharf will show up and say, Mr. Trump, here's an interesting executive order about the refrigerants in our home systems. And Trump says, yeah, it's about time we get rid of that flammable refrigerant. Whoever thought of that? They must have their head on sideways. What do you think, John? No?
Hey, I have good news coming up in 2. I don't know why you're stalling. I got great news for you, Brad.
Up a notch to number 2.
Your weekends starting in December just got better, Brad. Picture it. Brad Hildebrand kicked back at a sports book. If you listened to the show last week, and I know you did, you got to hear Brad talk about how great the sports book operations are in Las Vegas, Nevada. Well, you don't have to go to the Strip in Las Vegas to see a beautiful sports book. Just come to Ameristar this winter. And thanks to Fanatics, that's right, the sports betting company, they got a little partnership going on with Boyd, Brad. And Fanatics is setting up a sportsbook operation right there at the Ameristar Casino. That's pretty exciting, don't you think, Brad? Are you looking forward to spending your Saturdays and Sundays with a bunch of drunk degenerates at a casino?
John, I don't get the whole thing, but that's just me. I have no interest in betting on sports. Just absolutely none. I mean, zero.
Yeah, I mean, you place enough bets in your own life every day.
That's right.
Like, will the McFlurry machine at McDonald's be working?
Right.
Will I be able to order White Castles and get that special drink they make for me when I stand in line? Will the kiosk be working at Steak and Shake? You bet on enough stuff in your life, Brad.
Will Julia, the new AI assistant at White Castle, be able to understand when I ask her out on a date? I mean, all those kind of things.
I know, Brad. Or will producer Christy from the Brad and John show be willing to get a... Well, I won't even say that. I want to point out, too, if folks are interested in more of this story is brought to us by... There's a finance publisher called Seeking Alpha, and they've been around for a long time. And, Brad, I wouldn't even know about this story if I didn't subscribe to the Whispering Gallery newsletter that's put together by Jake Kroesen. He is the editor of the Missouri Times, and he mentioned it in this morning's newsletter. And I thought, gee, Jake, I haven't seen that anywhere. So I went searching for it, and I found it. So big shout out to Jake Kroesen. That's the kind of stuff that you're not going to get if you just read St. Louis Public Radio or the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Thank you, Jake. You can find a link to the Seeking Alpha article on johncombest.com today.
Is that a clue that we should go on to number 1?
Yeah, unless you had something you wanted to say about sports betting, Brad. Hey, what do you think of the Bengals this year? Are they going to cover the spread? You think they'll have an interconference matchup against the Falcons this year, Brad?
John,
can you believe that people just sit around and bet on sports?
John, here's the sports bet that I want to bet on. I would bet every penny I have that the Cardinals will not exceed 3 million in attendance this year. That's my bet.
I think that's a pretty safe bet. And I bet that you saw the headline that, what was it, 2 days ago? We set a record for the lowest attendance since 1997.
John, you're ruining my top three.
Okay, I won't talk about it. Just think of what life was like in 1997, Brad. You were still dialing up on America Online and telling people, I've been on the internet for like 5 years. You guys are just new to this.
Yeah, I have been. Okay, ready for number one?
I'm ready, Brad.
The number one.
I got 99 problems, but Trump isn't one. Brad, I'm going to give you 3 options of who said that line. Ready?
Go.
Jay-Z, Economic Development Commission Chairman Scott Drachnick,
I think it was him.
or Kansas City Mayor Quentin Lucas. Take a shot in the dark. Who said it, Brad?
Scott Drachnick.
Correct, Brad. He guest starred on an Ice-T album and started rapping about Donald Trump. No, you would be incorrect. And in fact, you, as you often do, Brad, so brilliantly and unwittingly led into the story yesterday when you talked about how Donald Trump was setting a trap for mayors. In this case, we'll refer to Quentin Lucas. And as an additional note, Brad, as a public service, which is what we do on radio, as a public service, I would like to point out to all the Caucasians in the office that when you hear the phrase, I got 99 problems, but a blank ain't one, and you say in your white girl voice,
Oh, that's Jay-Z. I love that Jay-Z song. We used to hear it at the club.
Jay-Z was paying homage to Ice-T. Ice-T had a song on his 1993 album, I think it was 92 or 93, called Home Invasion, and the song was called 99 Problems. So Jay was actually paying homage to rap icon Ice-T when he said that. 99 Problems is not a Jay-Z invention, and I love you, white women. Like, you're one of the reasons I get up in the morning, pardon the expression. But Jay-Z did not invent 99 Problems. Anyway, Brad, I'm stepping on my own story here. The Kansas City Star, a reporter named Kroesen Bayless, with help from a woman named Laura Bauer. Here's the headline, Brad. Will Trump send troops to Kansas City? Why, some think Kansas City should, quote, be prepared. And Brad, you so brilliantly pointed out that Trump is setting a trap, so to speak, for Democrats, because he's saying, hey, we're going to send some help into your city. We're going to clean up crime. And what are you going to do about it? You're going to complain that we're cleaning up crime? Here's the quote from Quentin Lucas. The president is using large, prominent cities in America, regardless of how safe or not they are. This has almost nothing to do with public safety whatsoever. This is purely political. Now, Brad, here's where Quentin Lucas pays homage to your idea. I think he has the Democrats in a position that he wants them where we're having the type of debate on, is your city safer or not? But a public by and large is saying we want more to be done. He's not coming up with real solutions for it. So, Brad, as you predicted, Democrats are in a tough spot because Trump says, we want to help you with your crime problem. And what are Democrats going to say? No, we don't want your help. We're a big fat pig like J.B. Pritzker, and we don't want troops to come into our state and make stuff safer. So I'll end with one quote here, Brad. And the story ends, of course, progressive content creators and reporters always want to give Democrats the last word, the very last word in a story. And here's what Kroesen Bayless quotes Ashley Aune as saying. This is scary. Ashley Aune, of course, is the House super minority leader. This is scary. He is using his power in a way that should terrify every single American, especially Americans who value their freedom. So, Brad, this is terrifying, and it's scary to have military presence and police bringing order and civility to urban areas. What do you think, Brad?
Two things, John. You don't watch South Park at all, do you?
No, I'm not a South Park guy.
Okay. The latest episode would be really funny if you watched that. You'd know the humor in that. Okay. Secondly, let me ask you a question. How many times do you hear of someone being robbed, are pistol whipped, are, assaulted in Busch Stadium. How many times have you heard that, John?
0.0.
Now, when there's a Cardinals game going on, isn't there an extra concentration of police officers in Busch Stadium?
I would say there's private security and police officers. You're right, Brad.
Right. So what does that tell you? When you got a lot of police around, the crumbums, the S-birds, as Bosch would say, they stay away. And the same thing about it is, we talked about this yesterday. I know because, see, to me, the military is the perfect example of controlling crime because the bad guys know what the police routine is. They know the ROE, let's call it, rules of engagement. They know that they can get away with this. They know they can do a street takeover at Market and Tucker and not have any problems. But yet, the military puts in a unknown factor that they may be in the back of a Humvee, face down, being hogtied by a Marine Corps Lance Corporal. They don't know what's going to happen. And I think that's why you're seeing like the dramatic decrease in crime in D.C. because everybody's going. And see, what's also interesting is I heard somebody from D.C. talk about this, that the police were normally protecting the high-profile targets in D.C., the monuments, Washington Monument, things like that. But this has given the police a chance to not hang out at those high-profile targets because that's where they're sending the Guard. The National Guard's going to those places, and the police are fanning out in areas that they normally don't have enough police to cover. I mean, I don't understand this whole thing with the Democrats. And like I said, I think the Democrats are walking into a trap on this. I mean, and perfect example, Mayor of Kansas City. And by the way, very sad story. A Kansas City police officer died. I don't know if you know this whole story. It's very sad.
What about it, Brad?
Police officer, I think the understanding was it was a guy, he was fleeing police or something like that, and one of the officers was putting up the stop sticks, and not only did the fleeing suspect dodge the stop sticks, he specifically targeted the officer putting up the stop sticks with his car and hit the officer. And originally yesterday afternoon, he was in critical and guarded condition. And I believe he passed away last night.
Yeah, okay, I see. Yep, I've seen the headlines, Brad.
And he's out like on bond from all sorts of.
Of course he is, Brad.
I'm going
just catch and release.
Right. It's like, okay, don't you think we learn? I mean, I told you the story when I worked for the police department years ago. The term we used in polite company was known characters, which meant they were S-bums. The cops knew who they were. The cops knew all the stuff they did. They only caught them doing certain things they could arrest them for. They knew, there was one guy, a sexual predator that, I don't know, maybe one of these days I'll tell this story, which is actually kind of funny but sad at the same time. When a woman called our office and reported a sexual assault, we knew who it was because when she identified the assailant, we all went, yeah, it's him again.
Yeah, there he goes again because he's a frequent offender. He's a frequent flyer, so to speak.
Right, and they would arrest him. He would go through the system, and a week later he'd be out of jail, and he'd be back assaulting women. I don't get it. I don't understand it. Why isn't the system? Yes. Does the system sometime catch good people in their net? Yeah, but infrequently. You know what I'm saying, John?
I do. And I do know that probably the best soundbite from this entire segment was you saying face down and hogtied. And I think we could probably remix it for like a little bit of a mood music. You know what I'm saying, Brad? Not mood music for you and me, but I mean you and me separately. You get what I'm saying?
Do you know what I'm surprised at? I'm surprised that wasn't in. We'll get to my top three in a minute, but I'm surprised you didn't have the Pete Mundo tweet in your top three today.
Oh, yeah. So Pete talked about that on his show the other day, that there's, to use a Brad Hildebrand term, they're coming after him, Brad. Is that the one you're talking about?
No. This was Pete Mundo yesterday. I love this. Ready for this?
Yeah, I'm ready.
And for those of you who don't know who Pete Mundo is, he's what, KCMO? Is that where he's talk show?
KCMO Radio, you're right.
Talk show host in Kansas City, very prominent guy. This is him yesterday. In the end, no matter what modern day society or social media tries to trick you into believing, the girl always goes for the manly man over the soy boys. Taylor Swift
Boy, that's a great point, Brad.
Taylor Swift is living proof of this. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, what a great point. I mean, nobody believes, and Travis Kelce can do the kind of like shuffling on shows where like he's the adoring, doting boyfriend. But a Taylor Swift, a high value woman who like literally still has a lot of value as an attractive woman, is going to choose a man who's a man and not some neckbeard who sips around talking about social justice.
As Pete calls, I love this term, the soy boys.
Yeah, soy boy neckbeards, Brad. They're
Right.
a real type.
Okay, we have to take a break. We will be right back. This is the Brad and John Show.